Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shri Vedantam Swamiti Nam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Nam Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari. No one's on audio.
No.
They're supposed to, they're not supposed to. Yeah?
No.
Never say Punyavadi Astachari Shatari Punyavadi Astachari Shatari Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasandi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever it is to everybody. We're going to try to share screen. You know how to do that?
Yeah, I should.
Normally I press that there.
Which one?
The green one.
Green. Oh yeah, that's it. Share screen. Yeah. Okay.
And
that's
this one
PowerPoint.
here.
Yeah, this one.
You normally press that one, and it should come on. Is it on?
Yes, we can see.
Oh, marvelous. Last week, I'm sorry we had some technical problems. Apparently have been solved. Wonderful. So we'll just sing this simple bhajan. This is a bhajan of Narottam Das Thakur. Savarna Shri Gora Padapadme. A prayer to the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga. And let's see if we have the translation or not. Hopefully we have. Yes, we do. So this song, which many of you are very familiar with, we sing it quite frequently in ISKCON. My dear Lord Caitanya, please be merciful to me. Because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss, since you always appear very happy. I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Caitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. O Vrndavana, personal secretary of Lord Caitanya, O 6 Goswamis, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, O Lokanath Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, Narottam Das also prays for your mercy. Your incarnation, talking of Lord Caitanya now, your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls. But I assure you, you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. O Srinivasacharya, successor to the 6 Goswamis, please be merciful to me. Narottam Das always desires the company of Ramchandra Chakravarti. So it's a beautiful song of Narottam Das, which we'll sing before we start to discuss something this morning. Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More Toma Vina Kedoyahu Jagat Sangsare Toma Vina Kedoyahu Jagat Sangsare Patita Pavana Hetu Tavavata Bolo Patita Pavana Hetu Tavavata Mosama Patita Prabhu napai bearo mosama patita prabhu napai bearo ha ha prabhu nityananda Premananda Sukhi Ha ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Balokana Kara Ami boro duki Kripa kana kara Ami boro duki That's right. Doya boro sitapati Advaita Gosai Doya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Vole Pai Caitanya Nitai Tava Kripa Ole Pai Caitanya Nitai Aha Rahu Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Aha Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Vata Juga Shri Jiva Prabhukanatha Vata Juga Shri Jiva Prabhukanatha Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamadaasa Chandra Sangamage Narottamadaasa Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Toma Vina Ke Doyavu Jagata Samsare Toma Vina Ke Doyavu Jagata Samsare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Ram Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanandi. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtata Sadashri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda Ki
Jai.
Namacharya Shri Haridasa Thakur Ki
Jai.
Prem Se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gauri Bhakta Vrinda Ki
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki
Jai.
Shri Mayapur Dham Ki
Jai.
Ganga Maya Ki
Jai.
Jamuna Maya Ki
Jai.
Tulasi Deva Ki
Jai.
Bhakti Deva Ki
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki
Jai.
Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtanam Ki
Jai.
Brihat Madanga Ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki
Jai.
Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Bol.
All glorious to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glorious to the assembled
Hare
devotees.
Krishna.
All glorious to the assembled
Hare
devotees.
Krishna.
All glorious to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glorious to Sri Guru. Jaya Shri. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswati. Deve Gauravani Vicharini. Nirvisesha Sanyavadi. Pastachadi Sutari. Jai. Sanchakalpa Turubhyascha. Kripa Sindhu Vivacha. Patisanam Pavanenam. Vaishnavi. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Hare Krishna. So this morning we're going to spontaneously read from Caitanya Charitamrita, and just as we mentioned last week, I said that all of these books are just like sugar cane. Wherever you take it, sweet. And Caitanya Charitamrita, as we mentioned, however, was specifically for the devotees, for those who have not realized or are endeavoring to realize their nature as devotees of Krishna. Caitanya Charitamrita may be a little bit beyond their grasp. But for devotees, we should grasp the Caitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada himself said, this Caitanya Charitamrita is the nectarine of his life. When he was crossing over the Atlantic Ocean to North America, he was absorbed in the pastimes of Caitanya Charitamrita. So I just spoke just a few minutes before coming down, pulled a book out the rack and opened the page, and we opened up on the Lord's visit to Vrndavana. As now with this maybe a year or two of corona pandemic, we have not, at least externally, been able to visit Vrindavan Dham. And some of you, of course, maybe in India, you may have been able to, I don't know. But for those of us in other countries, the chances of visiting are probably not very great, at least they haven't been. Things may change now, I don't know. But as we all are aware, I assume, Vrindavan is in the heart. The manifestation of Vrindavan in India, where Krishna pastimes appear within this earth, is like an oasis or an embassy, which we all take advantage of. But that opportunity is with us wherever we are. It's much easier, we could say, to be aware and to enter into the mood of Vrindavan when we're in that oasis or in that embassy, no doubt. Because everything there, more or less, we can go anywhere and be in Maya. More or less in Vrindavan, there is so much mercy. The Lord manifests himself in so many different ways to remind us of our eternal nature, to remind us of Vrindavan, our eternal objective, and our eternal home. Prabhupada's home is Vrindavan. So back home, if we're followers of Srila Prabhupada, we would assume and aspire to be in the home of Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada has given us this Caitanya Charitamrita for those who are on this path to achieve the highest goal. Caitanya Charitamrita, the character of living force in eternity, how we can actually have the vision to enter into Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, Golokara Premadana Harinama Sankirtan. Particularly Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought through the performance of Sankirtan Golokadam to this world. And he's personally tasting, as we read elsewhere. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord has appeared in this world for two purposes: to taste Krishna Prema, love of Godhead, only as it is experienced in Sri Vrindavan Dham, particularly that of the gopis for Krishna. To taste Krishna Prema along with the performance of congregational chanting of the holy name. And thus, with his devotees, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread the Sankirtan movement and delivered even untouchables. He made made accessibility to Krishna Prema available to everyone. We just have to take it. And thus the Lord he wove a wreath like a garland, a wreath with which he garlanded, a wreath or a garland which was made of Krishna Prema and congregational chanting, with which he garlanded the entire material world. So this is really the essence, you could say, of our mission, to garland the world with this Sankirtan movement, Prem Sankirtan movement. When King Prataparudra was standing high on the top of the highest building in Puri, he witnessed, he was there with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his brother-in-law Gopinath Acharya, and they were witnessing the arrival of Lord Chaitanya's devotees into Puri, and they're all dancing and singing and playing musical instruments. And the vibration is totally ecstatic transcendence. And King Prataparudra was astonished to see the Kirtan party entering into Puri. And he asked, "Wow, he said, I have seen so many Kirtans in my life, but I've never seen the like of this. What is this?" And Gopinath Acharya replied that this is not ordinary Sankirtan. This is Prema Sankirtan. Sankirtan completely enriched, saturated, totally saturated, not just partially, but totally saturated. Every movement, every word, every thought, saturated in Prema, or love of Krishna. This is Prema Sankirtan. Our Sankirtan is connected to that, Prema Sankirtan. We may not be on that platform of Prema Sankirtan, but if we are performing Sankirtan, following the footsteps of one who is, That is the path. We follow the process of gradually cleansing away all of the anarthas, all of the clouds which are covering the heart. We just hit a Krishna prema, Sajakavanai, Shravanadi Shuddhachite Kari Udai. Our heart is covered. It's covered with all kinds of, like the sun appears to be covered, but the sun is not really covered. It's our eyes which are covered. Love of God is there already in the heart. But the heart is covered. When the heart becomes uncovered, when our consciousness becomes uncovered, Shravanadi, by hearing and chanting from the right source, and just as the sun, when the sun rises in the morning, lights up everything, similarly as the heart becomes uncovered, then naturally love of Godhead begins to manifest. There are so many different coverings in the heart. Well, this is the mercy of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. That love of God, which is not something which we get from an external source, it's already there. We may not be aware of it. It's perverted right now through the modes of nature, and it comes out in the form of love for conditioned souls, love for dogs and cats, love for various living entities, love for our country, love for the material energy, etc. Excuse the phone ring, I don't know how to turn it off. Various deflections or reflections in this world, deflected and then reflected into this, what we see around us, the energies of God in various forms, when we develop love, attachment, and repulsion for these various energies of the Supreme. Please bear with us, I just don't know what to do about that. It's in the office here. Maybe someone will answer somewhere else. So Krishna consciousness is to deflect that attachment or that attraction back towards our original attraction to Krishna. And automatically, in time, as our attraction becomes complete, then one will, I don't know if we can turn this off. It's rang a few times.
I know, I ran downstairs to pick it up before it's noisy.
Vidura Prabhu is now trying to work out how to turn off these mobile phones. He's got a hammer in his hand now. It's finished, that's the end of it. End of the phone, but we won't have any more problems with that phone. Well done. Hammers are very useful in this world. Anyway, Lord Caitanya, through his sanctum, but he also very much, as you perhaps have heard, after he accepted the sannyas order of life, Lord Caitanya wanted to go to Vrndavana. Lord Nityananda, in his mischievous way, diverted him away, not away from Vrndavana exactly, but he diverted him in a way it was not the path to Vrndavana, but rather the path back to Shantipur, where he then met Advaitacharya, and thereon he went to Jagannath Puri on the request of his mother. Everything was a special plan. We're not getting to now. But eventually, after his trip to South India, he returned to Puri, and then he decided to go to Vrindavan. His first attempt, he didn't make it. He got as far as Kanai in Bengal, and then his path, he returned back to Puri. But later on, he again attempted to go to Vrindavan. And this time, he did reach Vrindavan. And it was, well, how many years ago would we say? I don't know, but it was more than 500 years ago. And it was at the end of the year, predominantly more or less in the months of December, when Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu spent a month, more or less, in Mathura Vrindavan before again returning to Puri. And that was his last trip out of Puri for the rest of his manifest pastimes. The remaining 18 years, he stayed in Puri. He pretty much didn't go anywhere at that time, simply stayed in Puri, maybe just around, in and around Puri. And that 1 month in Vrindavan has been described in Caitanya Charitamrita, and Srila Prabhupada has given it to us. So I'm going to read from that chapter now. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already given the instructions on his way to Vrindavan to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, that they should join him, or rather they should come to Vrindavan themselves also. And so first of all, Rupa Goswami headed off to Vrindavan, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him in Prayag, Allahabad, and instructed him on the teachings, philosophy, in its various levels of Krishna consciousness, and consequently Rupa Goswami was given the instruction to compile many literatures on Vaishnava, Siddhanta, and Nectar Devotion, Active Instruction are two of the most primary amongst his many compilations. Later on, Sanatana Goswami also came to Vrindavan. And Lord Chaitanya, when he was there, they were not there. But others were there. Lord Chaitanya had already requested, particularly Bhagavad Goswami and Lokanath Goswami, to go to Vrindavan and to try to uncover the places of Lord Krishna's pastimes, which are in many cases, if not most, at least, were unknown as to where they took place. Covered over, particularly in Kali Yuga. Everything gets covered very easily and very quickly in Kali Yuga. So many ways. So those two and other personalities on the order of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were uncovering various pastime places of the Lord. He would go and simply chant the names of forests, and in this way, calling the forests would reveal themselves, and other places too. Some places were still eluding them, especially Radhakund and Shamakund. So let's read now. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over Vrindavan and pleased all living entities, moving or non-moving, with his glances. The Lord took much personal pleasure in seeing everyone. In this way, Lord Gauranga traveled in Vrindavan. Those who want to follow this is the Madhya Lila, chapter 18, text 1 onwards. All glories to Lord Gaurachandra. Well, that was quick. Look at that there. Rasikananda Prabhu is so quick. It's wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. All glories to Lord Gaurachandra. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Prabhu. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Srivas Thakur. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in ecstasy. But when he arrived at Arita Gram, his sense perception was awakened. Now you've got the verses, great. First, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the local people, "Where is Radha Kund?" No one could inform him, and the Brahmana accompanying him did not know either. There was a Brahmin from Mathura who Lord Chaitanya met on his arrival. The Lord then understood that the holy place called Radha Kund was no longer visible. However, being the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, he discovered Radha Kund and Shama Kund in 2 paddy fields. There was only a little water, but he took his bath there. With being a combined form of Radha and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could obviously recognize maybe not external eyes could see, but with his internal vision, or just with his pure vision, could perceive the presence of these two most holy bodies of water, which previously he himself had manifested during his pastimes as Radha Krishna. And anyway, it's another pastime. So Lord Caitanya now has discovered, or uncovered, we could say, uncovered Radha Kund. When the people of the purified vision, everything becomes uncovered. When the people of the village saw Caitanya Mahaprabhu taking his bath in those two ponds in the middle of the paddy fields, they were very astonished. The Lord then offered his prayers to Sri Radhakund. And the next verse, text 7, you don't have the Bengali. For these verses, so I'll just continue reading in English. Of all the gopis, Radharani is the dearmost. Similarly, the lake known as Radhakund is very dear to the Lord because it is very dear to Srimati Radharani. Oh, now, my goodness, that was quick. Incredible. Yatarada Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundang Priyang Tatam Sarvagopishu Saiveka Vishnu Rachanta Bhava. Srimati Radharani is most dear to Lord Krishna, and her lake, known as Radhakund, is also very, very dear to him. Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most beloved. That verse was from the Padma Purana. Jai Kunda Nitya Krishna Radhikara Sanghe Jale Jala Keli Kare Tire Rasarange. In that lake, Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani used to sport daily in the water and have a rasa dansa on the bank. Te kunde kavar karesnam tanri radhasam samaprema Krishna karidam. Indeed, Lord Krishna gives ecstatic love like that of Srimati Radharani to whoever bathes in that lake even once in his life. Kundera madhuriyena radhara madhurima Kundera mahima yena madhara mahima. The attraction of Radhakund is as sweet as that of Srimati Radharani. Similarly, the glories of the Kund, or the lake, are as glorious as Srimati Radharani. It's a long verse now. I don't know how we chant this. Let's see. Shri Radeva Hare Stadiya Sarasi Prestadu Bhattai Svarganaya Yasyam Shri Yuta Madhavendurani Sham Prityataya Kriti Premasmin Bhata Radhikeva Labate Yasyam Sakrit Snanakrit Tasya Vai Mahima Tata Madhurima Kinastu Varnya Krishito. Because of its wonderful, transcendental qualities, Radhakund is as dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani. It was in that lake that the all-opulent Lord Sri Krishna performed his pastimes with Srimati Radharani with great pleasure and transcendental bliss. Whoever bathes just once in Radhakund attains Srimati Radharani's loving attraction for Sri Krishna. Who within this world can describe the glories and sweetness of Sri Radhakund? This verse is found in the Govinda Lilamrita. Next verse. We won't have the Bengali now, we'll just go back to the English. Those were prayers describing Radhakund. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu thus offered prayers to Radhakund. Overwhelmed by ecstatic love, he danced on the bank. Remembering the pastimes Lord Krishna performed on the bank of Radhakund. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then marked his body with tilak, made from the mud of Radhakund. And with the help of Balabhadra Bhattacharya, he collected some of the mud and took it with him. Devotees sometimes, when they go to Vrndavana, to Radhakund, they sometimes also bring back the Radhakund tilak. And Prabhupada was not against wearing Radhakund tilak, but it's not a general principle. We're not saying, I'm not at all eligible to take bath in Radhakund or to reside in such a holy place. As Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said, no one can take bath in Radhakund if you've got any material desire. It may look like one's taking in, but he was very strong about it in the case of many, and said you're not bathing in Radhakund at all, you're bathing in Narakakund, in another world altogether. It's just like when we chant the holy name, it's not like we read so many statements that simply by once chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can become freed from all sinful reactions. By once reciting the holy name, one's dormant love of God can immediately awaken. Different statements, it can, but it's not automatic because it depends on our relationship. Krishna consciousness is about relationship. How much what is our attitude in relationship with the holy name? Similarly, what is our attitude in relationship with Vrndavana, or specifically Radhakund? One becomes eligible. But sometimes we discuss it's more of a bathing of one's consciousness. It's not just physical exercise. In 1976, we were there, and Prabhupada became disturbed when he heard that devotees were treating Radhakund like an ordinary body of water practically. And he prohibited the devotees. He didn't prohibit devotees from taking baths, but he prohibited devotees to take baths in that way. And it's mainly because our consciousness is still in the mood of enjoyment, enjoying mentality. Do the same thing with chanting the holy name of Srimati Radharani, the most hallowed of names, most dear name to Krishna. We don't make a mockery of it. It's not an enjoying feature to chant Radharani's name or something. It's in the highest realm of devotion. But generally speaking, we never saw Prabhupada, or heard Prabhupada, we should say, ever chant the name of Radharani separate from that of Krishna. Of course, he chanted the name of Radharani, and he chanted it in the sense in Mahamantra. Every time we say Hare, we're addressing Radha in her form, manifest, you could say, in this particular form for the conditioned souls of this world to get her association and to get her mercy. We call upon Srimati Radharani for her mercy so that we may become free from her external energies in the form of Mahamaya. But we don't take it in vain and just, let's say, expose Srimati Radharani to mundane ears. And she's the most dear property of the Lord, as is her kund. It's not just another bathing pond. The mundane eyes is just another pond. But it's not. It's non different than Radharani. It is liquid prema. And to enter into prema, one has to be beyond, way beyond anartha, way beyond, and has to be beyond the stage even of bhava bhakti. So it's not a cheap thing. Caitanya Mahaprabhu then marked his body with tilak, made from the mud of Radhakund, and with the help of Balabhadra Bhattacharya collected some of the mud and took it with him wherever he went. From Radhakund, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sumana Lake. When he saw Govardhan Hill from there, he was overwhelmed with joy. When the Lord saw Govardhan Hill, he immediately offered obeisances, falling down on the ground like a rod. He embraced one piece of rock from Govardhan Hill and became mad. Mad with ecstatic love, the Lord came to the village known as Govardhan. It was there that he saw the deity Haridev and offered his obeisances unto him. Haridev is an incarnation of Narayan, and his residence is on the western petal of the lotus of Mathura. Mad with ecstatic love, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to dance before the Haridev deity. Hearing of the Lord's wonderful activities, all the people came to see him. The people were astonished when they saw Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love and personal beauty. The priests who served the Haridev deity offered the Lord a good reception. At Brahmakund, the Bhattacharya cooked food, and the Lord, after taking his bath at Brahmakund, accepted his lunch. There are many kunds around Govardhan Hill, many lakes, and most of the demigods and others like Surabi and others, they also have various lakes named after them. Most of these lakes were formed when Indra, after his offending Krishna and trying to devastate Vrindavan, came with Surabi to try to get free from the great, terrible offense of attacking Vrindavan. Of course, Krishna forgave him because he surrendered. But at that time they performed, and many demigods came, they performed an abhishek of the Lord. The water of that abhishek formed different kunds around Vrindavan, around Govardhan. So there's another one here, Brahma Kund. The people were astonished when they saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love. Well, I must have read that before. Yeah. Next one. At Brahmakund, Bhattacharya, we read that. Oh yeah, because I'm reading from the screen and I went back to the book. And that night, the Lord stayed at the temple of Haridev. And during the night, he began to reflect. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought, since I shall not at any time climb Govardhan Hill, how shall I be able to see Gopal Rai? Interesting, even the Lord himself would not climb on Govardhan Hill, what to speak of us. Thinking in this way, the Lord remained silent, and Lord Gopal, knowing his contemplation, played a trick. Coming down from Govardhan Hill, Lord Gopal granted an interview to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was unwilling to climb the hill, thinking himself a devotee of Lord Krishna. The devotees see that Govardhan is Krishna. He's also the servant, Haridas Vash. He's also the servant of the Lord. He acts as a servant, the form of the Lord who acts as a servant of the Lord. He's both. Krishna also in this way relishes the mood of servant. So Lord Chaitanya also was relishing this mood. So he considered Govardhan as the form of the Lord. How can I climb on the deity of the Lord? Gopal stayed in a village named Anakuta Gram on Govardhan Hill. The villagers who lived in that village were mainly from Rajasthan. One person who came to the village informed the inhabitants, the Turkish soldiers are now preparing to attack your village. Flee this village tonight and do not allow one person to remain. Take the deity with you and leave, for the Muslim soldiers will come tomorrow. Hearing this, all the villagers became very anxious. They first took Gopal and moved him to a village known as Gantuli, on the other side of the hill. The Gopal deity was kept in the house of a Brahmin, and his worship was conducted secretly. Everyone fled, and thus the village of Anukut was deserted. Due to fear of the Muslims, the Gopal deity was moved from one place to another again and again, thus giving up his temple. Lord Gopal would sometimes live in a bush and sometimes in one village after another. You might say, well, why does the Lord have to fear some ordinary, mundane Muslim soldiers? Why is he running like this? All part of his transcendental pastimes. It's like loving parents, they're always worried about their children. As Mother Yasoda was worried always about Krishna's welfare, protecting him in different ways. It enhances or flavors the rasa, especially the Vatsalya Bhav, is flavored very much by these pastimes of protecting Krishna, protecting one's child. And mostly they worship, even now, Gokuls worship more kind of, you say in one sense, maybe in Rajasthan, Vatsalya Bhav. In the morning, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath in a lake called Manasaganga. This is, many of you, perhaps you've taken bath in that Ganga, in Manasaganga, I don't know. In the center of Govardhan is this lake, large lake. He then circumambulated Govardhan Hill. Just by seeing Govardhan Hill, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu became ecstatic with love of Krishna, while dancing and chanting. He recited the following verse. So I'll just read that verse now in Sanskrit. Text number 34. This is a famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And this verse was spoken by the Gopis when Lord Krishna and Balaram entered the forest in the autumn. The Gopis spoke among themselves and glorified Krishna and Balaram for their pastimes. So the verse goes, Sanskrit. Hantayam madhyabala haridasa varyo yad Rama Krishna charana bharasha pramodaham manam tanoti sago kanayastayo yat paniya suyavasam kandara kandamulahi. Of all the devotees, this Govardhan is the best. Oh, my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram, as well as their calves, cows and cowherd friends, with all kinds of necessities, water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respect to the Lord. Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhan Hill appears very jubilant. And we'll go back just to the English now. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then took his bath in a lake called Govinda Kund. And while he was there, he heard that the deity Gopal had already gone to Gantuli Gram. Caitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the village of Gantuli Gram and saw the Lord Gopal deity. Overwhelmed by ecstatic love, he began to chant and dance. As soon as the Lord saw the beauty of the Gopal deity, he was immediately overwhelmed by ecstatic love, and he recited the following verse. He then chanted and danced until the day ended. I'm going to read the purport to this, I think. Yes, okay. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following information about Govinda Kund. There is a village named Aniyor on Govardhan Hill, a little distance from the village of Paita. Govinda Kund is situated near here, and there are two temples to Govinda and Baladev there. According to some, Queen Padmavati excavated this lake. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, the following statement is found. E Shri Krishna Kunda Mahima Aneka, Heta Indra Kaila Govindera Abhisheka. Govinda Kund is exalted for its many spiritual activities. It was here that Indra, defeated by Lord Govinda, offered prayers to him and bathed him. In the book Stavavali, the following verse is found. I won't read the verse, just this English. With humility caused by great fear, Indra took hold of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and in the company of the Sarabi cow, performed his coronation festival by bathing him with waters of the heavenly Ganges river. Thus Lord Krishna's kingship over the cows became splendidly manifest. I pray that Govinda Kund, the lake created by that ceremonial bath, may eternally appear before my eyes. Govinda Kund ki jai. And then from the Mathura Kund, it is stated, simply by bathing in Govinda Kund, one is awarded liberation. This lake was produced when Bhagavan Sri Krishna was bathed by Lord Indra. Gantuli Graham is situated near the two villages, Balachu and Gopalpur. According to hearsay, Radha and Krishna first met here. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, it is stated, Saki Swastre Ganti Dilasangopani. The two concealed themselves by tying their outer garments together. It is also stated, Paguyalaya Keha Ganti Kuli Dila. With a paguya, they undid the knot. Personally, I don't know what a paguya is. Maybe somebody does. They undid the knot. For this reason, the village is known as Gantuli. Untying the knot untied. Next in verse, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, may the left arm of Sri Krishna, whose eyes are like the petals of a lotus flower, always protect you. With his left arm, he raised Govardhan Hill as if it were a toy. Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Gopal deity for 3 days. On the 4th day, the deity returned to his own temple. Of course, Gopal is well known for his transcendental mystification with his devotees, Madhavendra Puri and so on. Caitanya Mahaprabhu walked with the deity of Gopal. He chanted and danced. A large and jubilant crowd of people also chanted the transcendental name of Krishna. Hari, Hari. The Gopal deity then returned to his own temple, and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu remained at the bottom of the hill. Thus all the desires of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu were satisfied by the Gopal deity. This is the way of Lord Gopal's kind behavior towards his devotees. Seeing this, the devotees were overwhelmed by ecstatic love. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to see Gopal, but he did not want to climb Govardhan Hill. Therefore, by some trick, the Gopal deity personally descended. You could say it's a little like Srila Prabhupada when he said to us, don't try to see Krishna act in the way that Krishna will see us. See you, coming from Prabhupada. Like that. So it's not the way Prabhupada said that it's not that the gopis, that rather the Goswamis were, they were calling out, where are you, Krishna? Not that I've seen Krishna, or not these here behind this bush, this, that, the other. But they were always in this mood that I am not qualified. But they were calling out always for Krishna, always calling his name. So becoming eligible through the process of devotional service. The eligibility is basically meaning to evoke Krishna's unending mercy, to evoke his mercy. It's only by his mercy that we can see him. It's not that we can see him by our material eyes, touch Sri Krishna Namadi, the Bhavan Graham Indra Sevam Mukhi Jivado, Svayameva Sprachata. With mundane senses, we cannot see Krishna. He's only possible when he reveals himself to those whose hearts are becoming purified. Senses become purified by devotional service, the Lord reveals himself. In this way, giving some excuse, Gopal sometimes remains in the bushes or the forest. Sometimes he stays in a village. One who is a devotee comes to see the deity. The two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, did not climb the hill. To them also, Lord Gopal granted an interview. In ripe old age, Sri Rupa Goswami could not go there, but he had a desire to see the beauty of Gopal. Due to fear of the Muslims, Gopal went to Mathura, where he remained in the house of Vitalaleshwar for 1 full month. Sri Rupa Goswami and his associates stayed in Mathura for 1 month and saw the Gopal deity. When Rupa Goswami stayed at Mathura, he was accompanied by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Lokanath Das Goswami. Bhugabha Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Yadavacharya Govinda Goswami also accompanied Sri Rupa Goswami. He was also accompanied by Sri Uddhava Das, Madhava, Sri Gopal Das, and Narayan Das. The great devotee Govinda, Vani Krishna Das, Pundarikaksha, Ishana, and Lagur Haridas also accompanied him. It was with great jubilation that Rupa Goswami visited Lord Gopal, accompanied by all these devotees. After staying at Mathura for 1 month, the Gopal deity returned to his own place, and Sri Rupa Goswami returned to Vrndavana. In the course of this story, I have given a description of Lord Gopal's mercy. After seeing the Gopal deity, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sri Kamyavan. And Kamyavan is one of the 12 forests of Vrindavan. On the western side, the far west is the furthest from you could say, from what we term Vrindavan. And it's a very big forest. And it's the forest Kamyavan where one's desires can be fulfilled. So one has to be very careful when going there about what one desires. Caitanya Mahaprabhu's touring Vrindavan has been previously described. In the same ecstatic way, he traveled all over Vrindavan. After visiting the places of Krishna's pastimes at Kamyavan, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Nandishwara. While there, he was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. So many of you have been to Varshan and Nandagram. So Lord Caitanya then went to Nandagram, Nandishwar, and he was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. Caitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in all the celebrated lakes, beginning with Lake Pavana. Thereafter, he climbed a hill and spoke to the people. Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked, "Are there any deities on top of this hill?" And they said, "There are a father and mother with well-built bodies, and between them is a very beautiful child who is curved in 3 places." Hearing this, Caitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. After excavating the cave, he saw the 3 deities. Caitanya Mahaprabhu offered his respects to Nanda Maharaja and Mother Yasoda, and with great ecstatic love, he touched the body of Lord Krishna. Every day the Lord danced and chanted in ecstatic love. Finally, he went to Kadiraban. After seeing the place of Lord Krishna's pastimes, Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sheshashai, where he saw Lakshmi and recited the following verse, text number 65. Yet te sujata charanam buroham staneshu vitakshanai priya dadimahi karkare sheshu tena tavim matasitad vyatatera kimsit Kurupari Bhamati dear Babadayusham. Oh, dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest paths. And next verse. Afterwards, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw Kela Tirtha and then went to Bandiravan. Crossing the Jamuna River, he went to Bhadravan. So Bandiravan, Bhadravan is the crossing of the river on the eastern side of Jamuna. There are 5 forests, 7 forests on the western side. So Bandiravan, Bhadravan, these are on the western side. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then visited Shrivan and Lohavan. He then went to Mahavan and saw Gokul, the place of Lord Krishna's early childhood pastimes. Upon seeing the place where the twin Arjuna trees were broken by Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was moved to great ecstatic love. After seeing Gokul, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Mathura, where he saw the birthplace of the Lord. While there, he stayed at the house of the Sanadiya Brahmin. Seeing a great crowd assemble at Mathura, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left and went to Akrura Tirtha. He remained there in a solitary place. Okay, so I'm going to finish there on this little reading from Caitanya Charitamrita. And because it carries on with the Lord's pastimes at Akrura Ghat and Tal, I don't know, but different places where the Lord went in his pastimes in Vrindavan. Just a little tiny glimpse taking us to Vrindavan along with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By his mercy only can we actually enter Vrindavan. So I'll finish there. If there are any questions, please, or comments. It's not a subject matter and we're just reading it for our purification and reminding us of Vrindavan. It is essential that we try to occupy our minds with thoughts of Krishna, Vrindavan, Dham. Otherwise, what will happen when we leave our bodies and our minds are still attached to family, the world around us, false identities, etc. So if there's any questions, comments, please send them on chat if you can. Just open up the chat a minute. Okay, well, so far there's no messages there. If nothing comes, we'll read a little bit more. We have to try to create a mood of Vrindavan in our own hearts, in our own homes, in our own towns, wherever we are, by putting Krishna in the center and hearing Krishna's pastimes, trying to serve his mission, etc. Okay, well, if any devotees want to type anything, otherwise I'm going to read on a little bit more. The next day, Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan and took his bath at the Kalya Lake and Praskandana. Kalya Radha. Some of you have been in Vrindavan, you will have seen the place where the tree was said to be the tree, or at least a descent of the tree from which Krishna jumped into the lake to deliver Kaliya's serpent, or deliver the lake, which Kaliya contaminated with his poison. A nice pastime therein. But that lake then became known as Kaliya Radha, the lake of Kaliya. And it's said that if one takes his bath in that lake, he's freed from all sinful reactions. One can also be successful in business by taking bath in Kaliya Radha. Or if you go there now, generally speaking, you will not find any water there. It's just sand. But you can roll in the dust of Kaliya Radha. After seeing the holy place called Praskandana, I don't know what that is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Dwadasaditya. From there he went to Kesha Tirtha. Dwadasaditya is the place where Sanatana Goswami was performing his bhajan on top of that hill. Now, of course, Madam Mohan Dedi is there. Lord Chaitanya went there after fighting with the Kaliya serpent on top of the hill. It said that the sun, that's what it means, 12 suns. It said the sun became extremely hot. It's like expanding 12 forms to warm the Lord up. He'd been in the lake for so long. It was cold, so in this way the sun performed this service of providing extra special heat to warm the Lord up. Then he went to Keshi Tirtha. That's where the Lord killed the Keshi demon. When that place and the place where the rasa dance had taken place, he immediately lost consciousness due to ecstatic love. The place where the rasa dance was performed in that area, many places in Vrindavan, Lord performed there as rasa dance, not far from there, Seva Kunj and other little forest groves where the Lord would performed Vrndavana, other places where he performed his Rasa Leela in that area. When the Lord regained his senses, he began to roll on the ground. He would sometimes laugh, cry, dance, and fall down. He would also chant very loudly. Being thus transcendently amused, Caitanya Mahaprabhu passed that day happily at Keshi Tirtha. In the evening, he returned to Akrura Tirtha, where he took his evening meal. Now, there's a couple of comments here. Hare Krishna, Vrindavan today. Why do the devotees not climb Govardhan Hill? Why is it considered offensive to do so? It's the same mood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself didn't climb it because it's a form of Krishna. When Krishna performed the Govardhan Puja ceremony in Vrindavan, we read in the Krishna book how that hill manifested himself as none other than Govinda himself or Krishna himself. So seeing the hill in that form, understanding our situation, we're meant to be servants of the servant. And even if you accept the hill as being a servant of Krishna only, and not as both or primarily as the Lord himself, still one will not step on the devotee. We don't step over a devotee, for instance. And we don't step over anyone if we can avoid it. Sometimes unavoidable in the course of one's services. We don't even know we're stepping over little insects and things. But in general, we don't step over everyone. Everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. The Lord is in every atom, and there's in the heart, and so we generally try to avoid stepping over people's legs, etc., when they're lying down. So what to speak of the Lord himself, what to speak of the Lord assuming the role of a devotee and worshipping himself. We carefully avoid the foot. The feet is considered to be like when we step on someone, it's putting them down, it's putting ourselves up. It's like, insulted, more or less, kicking someone, standing on them. This is very offensive, even in ordinary dealings. So what to speak, to put one's foot on Krishna, to put one's foot on the Lord in the form of devotee. This is how there are some devotees who do. They're in different mood. Their mood is somewhat, who knows what their mood is, but many of the local residents walk over Vrindavan. And of course, the cows, and monkeys, and everybody, and all kinds of living entities walking on Govardhan Hill. But for the followers of Srimati Radharani, at least, we never set our foot on Govardhan. We worship Lord Giriraj in this form. We're definitely not going to put our foot there. Of course, if he orders us to, that's another thing. Otherwise, we don't. How do we cultivate the vision of to see Sridham Mayapur? Non-different Vrindavan, Dham, Sridham Mayapur, Darya Dham, Madhurya Dham, Darya Dham. Lord has manifested Mayapur Dham, most merciful form of Golok Vrindavan, to give shelter to those living entities who are still sustaining or maintaining materialistic concepts, material desires, nartas, etc. And because they're in Mathura Dham, Mayapur Dham, the Lord does not take into account these offenses. Of course, if we're persistently offensive, wantonly offensive, then we won't be able to stay. But if it's just by force of circumstances, condition, and so on, not that we're making a plan to commit offenses, but they do sometimes happen. So like Mayapur is unlimitedly merciful, the Lord, in this, because it's Lord Caitanya himself in Mayapur, and he is Radha and Krishna. So where else is he going to be? Obviously, wherever he goes, that is Vrindavan. And Advaitacharya said, wherever you go, my Lord, that is Vrindavan. So specifically, the Lord performed his pastimes in Mayapur. For half of his manifest time was spent in Mayapur. And basically, that's his actual mood in Mayapur, Radha and Krishna. So there's no difference between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna. There's no difference between Mayapur, the abode or the Dham of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Vrindavan, the Dham of Radha and Krishna. They're not different. on the performance of Sankirtan, loud chanting of the holy names, absorption in holy names, the realization will come, and then they're just the same. You say the same petal, just a different mood, that's all. But the same petal. And both are existing eternally in Golok. They're both there in the spiritual realm. They go on simultaneously. Some devotees are in both rasas, some are in one or the other. But they're both there eternally. So by performance of Sankirtan, loud chanting. Why did Lord Caitanya spend so many years in Puri instead of Vrindavan? Well, I don't know if you've ever been to Puri, but if you do go to Puri, you might not ask that question because you can experience both Mayapur and Vrindavan in Puri. And whatever else your attention may be inclined towards. Lord Caitanya went there externally on the request of his mother because it was closer to Mayapur, and many devotees from Mayapur were going more so to Puri than Vrindavan, that's for sure. So this way Sakyamata was getting much information of her son. And secondly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood was to experience the mood of the gopis, Radharani's mood. And she, Rukmini actually said to Krishna that you cannot understand the feelings of your devotees in this mood of Madhurya Ras. You cannot understand it. So Krishna was determined to experience that mood of separation, which the gopis and even the queens of Dwarka, not perhaps so intensely, but were also feeling that mood of separation. So the Lord decided himself that he had to experience it because it's the highest form of ecstatic love of Godhead. So he took this position, especially in Jagannath Puri, where he felt this mood of intense separation from Krishna in Puri, along with his devotees. Anyways, Jagannath Puri, Lord Jagannath, appears in this age, particularly the worshipable deity form of Lord Jagannath is especially approachable in this age also. Plus the Lord established, not established, but you could say the Rath Yatra festival, by his presence there, this festival is now spread all over the universe. And one of the Lord's promises to Parvati to make sure that the Lord's Mahaprasad was available to everyone. So he was also there in Puri, where Lord Jagannath Mahaprasad is distributed to anyone and everyone, basically speaking. From there, this prasad distribution is going on all over the world by the mercy of Lord Jagannath. Rath Yatra festival now, all kinds of other outlets are there. But it's this mood of separation that Rath Yatra is the festival specifically in Puri of bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. There's the mood of Radharani, which Lord Chaitanya relished with his devotees there in Puri, feeling that the Lord has left, gone away, forlorn, the gopis remained, somehow thus sustaining their lives. But this Rath Yatra festival is the glorious occasion of bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. So this is Jagannath Puri, particularly to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan, to serve the innermost desires of Srimati Radharani. And so Puri is a very confidential and special dham, which bridges, they're almost like a bridge, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Dwarka, like a bridge connecting them all. Hare Krishna. Lord Chaitanya also taught that staying in Vrindavan is not just a matter of buying a ticket and buying a house in Vrindavan or an apartment. I am living in Vrindavan. Maybe not. We have to develop this mood of intense separation from Vrindavan, hankering. Lolyam is the price of Goswami. said the price of entering into Vrndavana is lowly, this intense greed or this intense feelings of genuine desire, separation. Not we take it for granted. I'm living in Vrndavana. Okay, well, that looks like it. Harinam Sankirtan. We're planning to go today again on the street, Krishna willing, and see what's happening. We're still in France, and we just came back from Paris, not Puri, Paris. Almost the same. Take the S off Paris, almost the same as Puri. We just came back. We're there for a few days. A few programs, we're getting ready. This week is the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada's arrival in France for the first time. So we're getting ready a little bit with that celebration. It's not very big, but you can watch, but you can tune in online. We'll be sending out details anytime on the Zoom. It'll be on Zoom. Several of the devotees who were there with Prabhupada will be sharing their memories with us here on Zoom. And everyone's welcome to join. It'll be a very nice memory of Prabhupada's coming first to Paris. He left Moscow on the plane. He flew to Paris. From Moscow, he flew to Paris. And he spent just one day in Paris, but it was quite an eventful day. Quite a lot of things happened. It's also the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada going to Malaysia. We just spoken a little bit about that. And it's also the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada going to Australia, to Sydney. These two events have just taken place. Moscow is going on from tomorrow onwards, 20th to the 25th. And then the 25th overnight, 26th morning, Paris. And then he went on to America, to Los Angeles, Vrndavana in San Francisco. So this is for many devotees, 50 is like, Western wise anyway, is a significant figure. And we like to take advantage of it by remembering Srila Prabhupada. And he's coming to these various places. So those who are in France, don't forget that. You can join even if you're not in France. Janananda or somebody will send out the link over the next few days to join us in the timings when we're on for the Zoom programs. We're probably having 3 Zoom programs. I'm going to be in Paris, so we hope that almost certainly the internet will be fairly good, reliable for those programs. And we'll be going on Harinam Sankirtan to some of the places Prabhupada went during that visit. And so that's this week. So please feel free to join us next Friday and Saturday morning. Hare Krishna. Jai Lord Srila Prabhupada, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. What to say? When, oh when will that day be mine? Offenses ceasing, taste for the name increasing. And when in my heart will your mercy shine? When, oh when will that day be mine? Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're also having a Kirtan Mela here in New Mayapur in a few weeks' time. I don't know, maybe this is maybe this is the first Kirtan Mela live in Europe for some time, maybe since the beginning of the pandemic. I don't know. As far as I know, it is. And Sachinanda Maharaj is coming, Madhava is coming, Agni Dev coming, a few others are coming, maybe Kadambaka Maharaj, I'm not sure yet. But Sachinanda Maharaj is definitely coming, as is Madhava and Agni Dev. You'll hear more about that later. I guess that will also be live on Zoom if we can get the thing working. That'll be an interesting one. We'll see. But keep in touch, and maybe Rastikananda or Jivananda or somebody's will send out information on that one. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Next week, I will not be giving a Zoom class on Saturday because, well, there will be, but it won't be like this because I'll be in Paris for this festival with Srila Prabhupada's arrival. And you can join it, but it won't be like a class. It will be a class by Prabhupada in Paris in 1971. And we'll have some reading and comments afterwards to add to that, but there won't be time for we're having a Sankirtan festival in Paris next week, our monthly Sankirtan festival, when as many devotees as possible will be going on book distribution. So that will be more or less the day eaten up. But hopefully we'll do a Zoom class on Sunday morning next week. The timing you'll hear later on, probably Sunday. Okay, well, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you all very much. And maybe you can unmute everybody or some bodies, and we'll bid each other farewell from wherever you are, the far distant corners of this earthly planet, in these unique times.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo!
Hare Krishna.
Haribo!
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo! Haribo! Hari
Glory to your lotus feet, Maharaj.
Come on, Tom. Let's have a smile from Tom.
Thank you, Maharaj.
You can smile.
Il nous a vus. Ils sont, hein?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, it's not that bad, old boy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Praise to you, Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.